All right, in this video, we're going to be going over the digit span subtest on the WISC-V, both forward, backward, and sequencing. Now, all you need to administer digit span is your administration and scoring manual and your record form. Now, digit span, much like on the WISC-V, is primarily a verbal subtest. That is, you don't really need much in terms of equipment to administer it besides these two items. So the first thing we are going to do, again, is in our administration and scoring manual, is we are going to be flipping to the page where digit span starts. And in this case, digit span starts on page 117. Now, this particular subtest does not have reversal rules, but it does have discontinuation criteria. So I will here show you the front page here. Again, if I can get some okay lighting. So feel free to pause it if you wish to read what it says. But there are just some general rules that I like to go over for digit span, just to make sure that you are having a consistent administration. So there are three tasks that make up digit span. There is digit span forward, there is digit span backward, and there is digit span sequencing. You do need to administer all three of these tasks to the child when doing a full administration. Now, what you'll notice when you are administering digit span is that there are trials for each administration. So you'll notice that for item number 1, there are two trials. There's the 2-9 and the 5-4. Both of these need to be administered for item 1 to be complete. So that is important to keep in mind as we keep going forward. So just a few more things with digit span. You need to read each trial verbatim at the rate of about 1 digit per second, and you want to drop your voice inflection slightly on the last digit in the sequence. And then you want to pause to allow the child to respond. So what that ends up looking like, and we'll start here at number 1 for forward, is if it is 2-9, which is the numbers we are supposed to be reading, what you want that to sound like then is like this, the following. 2-9. 2-9. You want about 1 second in between, and you want to drop your voice at the end to indicate that you have completed saying it. So if we jump down then, we'll say here to number 4, trial 1, it would go something like this. 8, 2, 1, 9, 6. You see, I dropped my voice there at the end. Let's do the next one. 7, 2, 3, 4, 9. So again, you want to read these at a rate of about 1 second per digit, and you want to drop your voice at the end. There is no repeating that is allowed by you as the examiner within this particular subtest. You cannot repeat any trial. There is some language here within the book that says if you have a child that does ask you to repeat a trial, you can say, I can only say them one time, take your best guess. Now, the actual instructions, starting here at digit span forward, go a bit like this. You would say, I'm going to say some numbers. Listen carefully, I can only say them one time. When I stop, you say them back to me in the same order. Just say what I say. And then you'd proceed directly to trial number 1. Now, the way you discontinue on digit span, whether it's forward, backwards, or sequencing, is you need to have the client get a score of 0 on both of the trials that make up a particular item. So for item number 1, those trials being 2-9 and 5-4, they would need to say both of those incorrectly for you to then discontinue this particular trial and then move on to backward. The same goes for both backward and sequencing. They need to get an incorrect score or a 0 on both trials that make up a particular item. Now you'll notice that here in the middle of digit span, there is this blank space This is, again, much like in the WISC, where you will be actually writing out and recording verbatim the numbers in the correct order that the patient then provides to you. Now, that one is for forward, so we're going to go ahead and flip our page here to actually begin to talk about backward. And in backward, the instructions are very similar. You would say, now I'm going to say some more numbers, but this time when I stop, you say the numbers backward. If I say 9, 4, what would you say? So you'll notice that with backward, we actually have 2 sample items that need to be administered up there in the dark font that need to be administered in order to make sure that the client understands the directions that we are actually giving them. So you would then listen for that correct response. In this case, if it was 9, 4, we would want to hear 4, 9, in which case we would say, that's right. An incorrect response, we would say, that's not quite right. I said 9, 4, so to say them backward, you should say 4, 9. Once trial 1 has been administered, this 9-4 trial, we would move on to trial 2, in which case you would say, let's try another one. Remember to say them backwards. 5, 6. You would then listen for the correct response, which would be 6, 5, in which case you would say, that's right, let's try some more, and then proceed on to item number 1. For an incorrect response, you would say, that's not quite right. I said 5, 6. So to say them backward, you should say 6, 5. Let's try some more. And again, I am reading this directly from the administration and scoring manual. And then finally, once backward has been completed, either through completion or through discontinuation criteria, we would then have to flip our page to get to digit span sequencing, which also has its own set of instructions. Sequencing is one of the rare ones that for very young children, so between the ages of 6 and 7, there is actually a qualifying item, in which case you are asking the client to say, you would say to them, count to 5 out loud so I can hear you. And you would just be seeing if the client is capable of counting to 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. As long as they are able to do so and at least get to number 3. So if they were at least able to say 1, 2, 3, you can actually proceed and then administer the rest of sequencing. If they do not, you have to immediately discontinue the subtest and move on to the next one. So the instructions for digit span sequencing go a bit like this. There are actually 2 sample items. There is a sample item A and a sample item B. For sample item A, the instructions are as follows. Now I'm going to say some more numbers, but this time when I stop, you say the numbers in order, starting with the smallest number. If I say 3, 1, what would you say? Now, obviously, we're looking for the correct response of 1, 3, in which case we would say, that's right. An incorrect response, we would say, that's not quite right. I said 3, 1. To say them in order, starting with the smallest number, you say 1, 3. From there, you'd move on to trial 2, which you would then say, let's try another one. 8, 6. And again, look for either the correct or incorrect response. Sample item B then adds an additional digit to show that as we add more, it is very important for them to sequence the numbers in numerical order. So for trial 1, for sample item B, you would say, let's try another one. 5, 2, 4. You'd be looking for the correct response of 2, 4, 5, in which case you would say, that's right. An incorrect response, you would say, that's not quite right. I said 5, 2, 4. To say them in order, starting with the smallest number, you should say 2, 4, 5. Once you have completed the sample items, regardless of whether they got them correct or incorrect, you would then move on to item number 1. Now, the last thing that I would like to bring to your attention is that while your administration and scoring manual does give you the numbers that you need to read out loud, so too does your record form. You'll notice that over on the left side in the white areas for items 1 through 9, They have the items that listed in the order that you should read them, followed then by this dark area that then tells you the correct response and the correct order that the client is then supposed to be saying to you. In this extra white area here is the response column, where you should then be writing in verbatim exactly what the client is saying to you. So that is digit span, both forward, backwards, and sequencing. If you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to your instructor.